Hi, everyone. I am here today with Francesca Danzi, who has an incredible background working in the digital retail space, um, very much across the fashion space, both in lifestyle and luxury. And she's worked all over the world. And I'm really happy to have her here to speak to us today about the omni-channel experience as well as the role of the salesperson in retail. So, welcome, Francesca.
Thank you, Jamila. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to speak here and to speak about topics that are so dear to my heart.
So, just to start off with context, can you share a little bit about your career for our audience? And I would love for you to really also make sure we start off with your when you were at Burberry, which was, I would think, a really pivotal time in retail. It was kind of the beginning of digital transformation, I think, across many aspects of the industry, but especially in fashion.
Absolutely. So yes. So let's start from when I came to Burberry. Where I came to Burberry already having a background in luxury, having worked for Saint Laurent and for Chanel, especially in the beauty sector. And I came to Burberry at a time of big transformation where the brands, with under the guidance of Angela Ahrendts and Christopher Bailey, such a creative and powerful couple, were positioning the brands in the luxury space. And they were looking at a way to really refresh, revamp, re-energize what Britishness means and create a luxury profile for a brand in the British space. So I was there, and the solution that we found as a team was really to target the millennial and become the pioneer in the digital space, position is Burberry as the most digitally innovative brands, luxury brands in the space. It was a big change for the retail staff. And, we can totally get into that. All of a sudden, from one day to the other, the CEO came in and said, we want to remove every piece of paper from the stores. No more pens, no more nothing. We want everything digital. Let's deploy iPads to every store and have everybody learn and become a digital savvy sales.
So, yeah, quite a change.
Yeah,
So you've kind of been on that, I don't know, almost like a day to night switch of going from paper, like you said, literally to digital. And I know that was that like I remember it was very transformative for the industry.
it was.
How have you tell us a little bit more about how that kind of that shift has I feel like it's been quite a theme in your career of bringing digital to multiple brands that you've worked with.
Absolutely, yes. So the theme is how to embrace digital and use technology to enhance the human experience. Both first at that time, it was very much about the customer and all the customer
Mhm.
centricity mindset. Today, it's about the
Yeah.
human being, right? So it is as
Okay.
much as the customer as the employee. So really, the focus today is on both sides.
Okay, interesting. How what do you think created that shift of not just thinking about the customer, but also now thinking about the sales team as well?
I think in embarking into that digital transformation and really being focused, and look at some of the brands I work with and some others, right, that I've consulted, etc.
Yeah.
Everybody was really focused on that technology implementation, and then processes, and then the
Yep.
delivery, and what little by little, by advancing in that integration, in that implementation, everybody realized that there's a people element that is absolutely crucial. And
Yeah.
unless you get that part right, you
Yeah.
can create the most incredible technology, you can put in the most incredible processes, nothing is going to be delivered the way you truly want it. And
Yeah.
so the whole idea of design shifted from being customer centric to really being human centric. And so having that really brought in into all workshops, all phases of that co-design.
So, how do you find the brands that you work with now? Let's say this is 10 plus years after kind of digital transformation was this idea, you were part of one of the pioneering movements of it, to now where a lot of brands have, digital, everyone says they're a digital brand, everyone is working on an omni-channel strategy.
Yes.
How do you find brands are still, maybe not struggling, but how do you find brands are now thinking about enhancing or still adopting this human-centric approach to being digital? Do you feel like brands have figured it out, or it's still very much a work in progress?
So it is very much a work in progress. I have to say that the attention is there though, right? And I have to also say that probably the pandemic has helped in that sense
Okay.
because
Yeah.
there is much more awareness of how people feel and the fact that you need to really onboard and engage the people within the organization in order to deliver the experience you want the customer to leave.
Yeah.
So I can also tell you that is so much more, especially in the US, of the utilization of professional coaches for both leaders
Okay.
and
Yeah.
sales associates and people in the stores. So there are programs for
Yeah.
store managers, there are team programs for sales associate. That has been, really different. That was not in place when I worked, 20 years ago, when I started 20 years ago. It's a lot of
Yeah.
innovation in that space.
Yeah. That's really interesting. One of the themes we really explore at Parla is the future of work and how the role of the salesperson has truly evolved, not just in terms of their job function. They're not just getting inventory from a back room,
Yes.
but also where are they providing support to the customer? Does it have to just be in a store in person? How else can they offer that support in the shopping experience? So I'm really interested about how, when you are now talking to managers and executives and coaching, and these soft skills are coming in, where are they using it, and how does that link to the customer experience and that customer shopping journey?
Totally. So what that is still a lot, some work to do is around that trust and that empowerment of the salesperson. And so
Hmm.
for that you need a strong vision, you need shared values, right? And you need
Yeah.
clear direction and that empowerment. Um,
Yeah.
so that is what is super important so that you can start to see your salespeople as true assets and as
Yeah.
people who can use their own creativity, your own initiative
Yeah.
to come up with personalized ways to engage, to get in touch, to cultivate those relationships with customers, whether they're in the stores, they're at home, they're anywhere. For that, what I can tell you is that really you need that leadership that has the vision and has that belief in people, right? And trust in
Yeah.
having a good training program and a good and also a good way of tracking progress and managing, and driving results. That is
Yeah.
a good way of measuring.
Yeah.
Because,
That was going to be my next question,
yeah.
is how do you find brands are now rethinking maybe KPIs? Do you feel like it's evolved beyond just top line sales? What are you finding when you're working with brands?
There are the most advanced brands, they are. And they are starting to consider ROI in a different way, right? It's not just those
Okay.
hard metrics that we're used to, and just not that the productivity per square foot or the your revenue, or it's slightly different, and they're starting to really encompass metrics like how to measure engagement, how to measure that attribution of sales that can happen in any channel, right? Regardless, but it can be attributed to a particular touch point or contact. So the most
Yeah.
advanced are starting to open up to incorporate multiple ways of understanding the value of an investment or an initiative. Other
Yeah.
brands are still on that journey. They're still
Yeah.
attached to very mathematical calculations of the value of an initiative. And
Yeah.
so those are the companies that needs to be taken on a journey and that's real change management to happen because
Yeah.
we know, right? And Parla is a testament to that. The role of the store has changed. And so the role of people that are employed within the stores have changed. And so we have to be more creative in our thinking about
Yeah,
what we can drive, and what is the value of having
yeah,
stores.
very true. So when brands start to rethink how they're calculating ROI, even an idea like attribution, do you find that because the world has been very singular, like there's single
Yeah.
channels, you walk into a store, you check out in the store, so that's the revenue from the store.
Yes.
You go online, you add stuff to your cart, you check out, you're retargeted if you didn't check out that day. It's very kind of linear.
Yes.
If brands are now thinking a bit more about almost like a web, how do these different interactions
Yes.
all come together? Do you find that the ROI is kind of like simple to calculate, or do you feel like there's a technology component or a systems component that first needs to be put in place before a brand can start to think more creatively about how they evaluate their staff and how the role of their staff changes?
So first of all, there is a mindset that needs to be open to that. Then there is a technology that definitely can be implemented, because these are attribution. When I manage attribute, when I talk about attribution, it means that if I
Yeah,
initiate a contact or I reach out to a customer from any device, from anywhere I
yeah,
then I send a link with a look or with some recommendations. And that customer ends up going on the website and buying that particular product, one of those products, or even if they end up buying something else, right?
yeah,
What brands are doing today is that they are considering a window period that is dependent of how long it takes for decision making for their
yeah.
product. So they're considering, okay, let's consider 2 weeks or let's consider a month, right? And let me
Okay.
see what that customer does. Let me analyze those behaviors. And that is now
Okay.
possible with AI and with technology. I can I
Yeah.
can follow the customer behavior and I can determine and attribute a sale to the
Yeah.
interaction. Then, of course, what is one of the challenges? It's complex, right? It's never
Yeah.
one touch point that determines a sales decision, like a purchase decision. But what
Yeah.
I can decide as a company in order to reward a behavior that is made by
Yeah.
humans, I can decide to attribute value to a certain engagement, right? I reach out.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what brands are doing, and they are rewarding that through incentives, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes they keep their sales targets by channel, and then they add sales incentives that are more
Mhm.
omni-channel using these
Okay.
attribution windows. In some
Yeah.
other cases, they're even adding those omni-channel sales to the associate sales targets, and so they
Yeah.
really have a true omni-channel
Yeah.
kind of mindset. Absolutely. Because otherwise,
Yeah.
Jamila, you know that, right? Otherwise, you have that fight within stores between
Yeah.
e-commerce
Yeah.
and the stores. And then
Yeah.
like, I want to
For
sell
me.
just what's in the store because otherwise, it doesn't get, I don't get any a reward for that. That is on e-commerce.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're now implementing these programs and working with brands to be more human centric,
Yes.
how are you finding, because I think in retail traditionally we think of you're trained on a product, the brand has its own sales process, you kind of have to adhere to a training guideline.
Mm,
If brands now are realizing that there's kind of an autonomy or independence that salespeople are need to have to be creative with customers, to bring kind of their own special sauce to how they work with customers, especially in an omni environment.
yes.
How are you finding the impact on the salespeople in terms of their attitude towards work and their performance? Do you see um, a clear benefit or improvement with staff once that they are able to kind of almost like be themselves in the role?
Absolutely. And I am working right now with a brand where I'm experiencing exactly this, right? So, what I did is that I, first of all, created 2 days co design interactive workshops when I brought people from the stores as well as people from the head office in the different functions and put everybody in a room and say, okay, let's rethink this, right? How do we want this to work?
Let me just pause right
Yeah,
there. I think that's amazing that you're bringing, as part of the strategy, you're bringing the frontline staff with corporate staff.
absolutely.
That in itself is quite, uh, it's like new. It's refreshing, right? To have everyone in one room rather than just a mandate that comes down from or corporate office.
And I'll tell you more. In this particular brand, for example, the tendency was to incorporate everybody from retail and HR, not
Yeah.
necessarily the e-commerce. And I asked,
Okay.
and I asked to bring in people from e-commerce and marketing because
Yeah.
this is a true united effort. It's a cross-functional effort, or otherwise it won't work. The
Yeah.
customer, we live in an omni-channel world. We have to work omni-channel and design omni-channel first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so that is it. And what it came from the staff was really the request was to have a bit more freedom, to have a mobile device where we could more organically engage with clients using assets that were even just created by them. Not necessarily all
Yeah.
assets had to be strictly branded.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I find is really important is for the staff to be able to share then. So having a
Okay.
platform to then share their experiences, because they
Yeah.
they test different personal ways,
Yeah.
and then they want to learn from others, they want to learn from each other and what's been happening. And
Yeah.
when that is not in place, they really suffer, and that is a really, it's a missed opportunity, because the power of sharing and influencing from people doing the same activity, maybe in different cities in different countries, is really incredible.
Yeah, we find that too when we're working with our sales teams, like you said, in different cities. The ability for them to knowledge share about the way that they interact with customers or the way that they use a piece of technology or a specific feature is quite, I think they all appreciate being able to hear how other people sell, because you can just get a little tip or a little insight that you wouldn't have otherwise had.
Absolutely. And also
Um,
some healthy competition, right?
yes,
At the
true.
end of the day, these
Yeah.
are sales, we're salespeople, and salespeople do love to have a bit of competition.
So now, given what you've seen, the work you're doing now, where do you find brands are focused on? What are their strategies? What are they thinking about as they look forward the next 5, 10 plus years?
So definitely, without a doubt, personalization at scale, or really hyper personalization, as we like to call it in the luxury space. Because now with
Yeah,
AI and with machine learning, we have these algorithms that can really analyze customer data to predict behavior and to predict
right.
preferences, and
Yeah,
which allows for highly personalized experiences. So finally, that idea of scaling the ability of an individual to remember and connect and create something truly unique, that is now scalable, right? Thanks to technology. And so I see that as a trend. What's important on the other side is always to remember that luxury customers want that human touch as well, right? So you need that enabling technology, that abilities to find out what to deliver, and that you still need the human being to deliver, some of those pieces with a human touch. And the other investment is definitely around dynamic content that can, more and more content and dynamic and changing thanks to these algorithms that can predict customer preferences. So that is super important. On another side is the whole AI driven chatbots and virtual assistants, obviously, right? So that is more and more sophisticated, it's working, and so that's the other investment that I can see brands really taking. That bring us also to a need to train and our people differently, because it's not all, it's about now really truly leveraging technology. Technology is there, technology is every day in our hands, and understanding how to leverage those insights, understanding those to enhance the experience. I think that's something that needs to become the priority moving forward. um,
yeah.
it's a different caliber, it's a different type of quality of the sales people that we need to aim to.
So, our last question that we love to ask our guests is if you can share one of your favorite experiences as a customer. So, one of your highlights in customer experience.
Hmm, this is interesting. Um, so it's a Michelin star restaurant in New York City, and it's three Michelin. Probably you know the one I'm talking about, but the chef is a vegan chef, so it's a whole very particular experience.
Yeah,
And
11 minutes apart, right?
yes, exactly. So it just skipped my mind. And so there are different elements of that. First of all, when you reserve, obviously it's a Michelin star, so you have high expectations, and is you know this, you're going into an excellent place. But what's interesting
Yeah.
is the humanity of the people that you find when you actually go there.
Mhm.
It's really not a stiff, it's all the opposite that a stiff atmosphere. It's actually quite warm. There is a research up front, so there are a lot of questions before you go into the restaurant. There's a lot of kind of questions that they ask you in writing already to get to know you a little bit. So there is a preparation for the experience that is
Yeah,
really thought through. Then you get there, and obviously the experience is marvelous. As I said, it's warm while excellent in every detail, and they truly
yeah,
remember what you told them, what you like, what you didn't like. So there is all that attention. There is art, so it's experiential either in the way you're immersed by meaning and the
yeah,
art in all what it's around. And then what I love also is a little touch at the end. You are given a granola little bag, right? So that you
yeah,
can continue that experience when you go back home. You bring
yeah,
with you a bit of that magic and delicious food that you have experienced there.
yeah.
So for me, that is a well designed and thought through experience where it's pre, it's during the experience, and it's post experience, and it keeps you with that desire to have more.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and yes, speak to you soon.